Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. And I am your host, Nora Muhammad. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the podcast. I must say I'm so thankful and grateful to have an opportunity to be of service and to provide a value to our people in terms of sharing information, unique thoughts, and ideas that we are not going to find in mainstream media, um, the mainstream speakers, mainstream artists, the kind of content, conversation, and insight that's shared on this podcast is just not there. If it was there, then I wouldn't need to do this podcast and other conscious forward media outlets wouldn't be necessary. However, because there is a dearth of content that's feeding our minds in the way that we need to be fed, then this podcast is here. And I want to thank the listeners who listen week after week, who share the podcast, who share their feedback, who email, um, uh, uh, message me on social media, and who lend words of support. It is certainly a labor of love, and it's a privilege to have the ability to speak. It's a privilege to have knowledge and wisdom to share with our people, and so it's an honor to have you as a listener. So I'm very, very thankful for you for coming back week after week. You know, when you listen to someone, in a sense, you develop a relationship with them. I became a fan of public radio about 20 years ago, maybe a little more. And, you know, listening to the voice of the person that's on the other end of the microphone, you know, even when there was a guest host, you kind of miss their voice, you know, their intonations, you get used to their cadence and their diction. And there's a relationship that develops. For me, I will say it was Diane Rehm on NPR. I really, really loved listening to her. I thought she was a wonderful interviewer. She asked very, very insightful questions. And when she retired from her show, I really missed her, and I really missed her voice, and even learning her trajectory that landed her as a host on public radio was really interesting, because that's really not what she had in mind to do as a career. And so her story was really unique. And from Diane Reams, I really enjoyed Terry Gross, who hosts the show Fresh Air, also on NPR. And I even really enjoy one of her guest hosts, Dave Davies, who does pretty great interviews, and he's such a knowledgeable and insightful interviewer. So, you know, I understand that when you're listening to someone week after week or day after day in some cases, then you really get used to their voice, and you kind of develop a relationship with them. You begin to look forward to hearing them as part of your daily routine or your weekly routine. And so I really do not take for granted that you're here. I don't take for granted that you've tuned in to hear what it is I have to share. And of all the things that you could be consuming in terms of media, so many podcasts, radio, music even, that you take some time to listen to Nora Speaks, I do really, really appreciate you, and I value you. And as it is 2025 Black History Month, so much comes to mind for me in thinking about Black History Month. It's a time of year that we reflect on the legacy of our people in this nation. We reflect on the advances that we've made, the challenges that we've overcome. And we also think about the pioneers who have lent their wisdom, their resources, their voice, and in many ways, their lives and livelihoods to carve a way towards progress for us in this nation. And so, this Black History Month, I am thinking about Black love, and I'm thinking about what it means to love ourselves. And of course, historically, here in this nation, those inherent qualities that define our people, define what it meant to be a Black person, those qualities were also used to shame our people. And as it happens, this shame was also internalized by us. And so these definitive qualities, these unique traits that we own, were rejected by those of us who own them. And so loving ourselves, I know, means accepting these qualities, accepting these traits, and valuing them and recognizing that those things that make us unique or different, or those qualities or traits that were used to shame us, are ours. And we would be foolish to let those who despise us define us. And so we know that we have to reject that type of mindset. These qualities are ours, and the insanity or the illness that we have that causes us to hate ourselves or hate our features, that is an illness, that is an insanity that must be cured. But I also know loving ourselves is not just admiring those qualities that are fundamental to us as a people. Loving ourselves is loving that, sure, but it's also loving that in our brother and our sister. It's also caring for each other. Love is not just a feeling that one experiences as it regards to the love of their child or the love of their spouse, the love of a family member. The feeling alone is not love. Love is something that is expressed. Love is being responsible to that child, to that spouse, to that family member, and to our brothers and sisters who are our extended families. That obligation that we have to our people, the respect that we have for our people, the doing no harm, causing no harm to our people, the sharing of information, sharing of resources, sharing of knowledge, the guiding in the right way, away from danger, away from failure, away from dysfunction, to productivity, to success, right? Guiding each other. And that's not just you guiding your niece or your nephew or your child, but that's also, guiding a coworker, letting him or her know, what the right thing to do is, if you know it. That's guiding the students in your class so that they can be successful. And then not just guiding, because everyone who needs guiding wants to be guided. It's also having the endurance to guide a people who are rejecting guidance or who are distrustful. This is, as our people, we are really facing a lot in this time, and unity is necessary more now than it ever has been. And so the love that we have and the love that we should have should be a prominent feature among us. It's not just a slogan, Black love. It's not just words on a t-shirt, words on a hoodie, right? It's not just a bumper sticker. Black love means being responsible to our people, not looking, as we say, straining at a gnat, not looking for ways to criticize our people, looking for ways to downgrade our people, but looking for ways to lift up our people, elevate our people, problem solve for our people. And to do this requires quite a bit when we are facing one another in a certain dysfunction, in a certain historical context of being pitted against each other, in the context of not loving self and certainly not loving self. I'm not loving my brother or my sister next to me. So we are in a very unique circumstance where Black love and love is action, it's activity, it's doing for others, and planting the seeds for a crop that even those who hate you can benefit from, even those who work against you should benefit from. Because we don't want what we have that's good and confine it to just ourselves. That's not love. Love is sharing it with each other. And so in this Black History Month, I'm thinking about what it means for us to love ourselves. Love is service. Love is commitment. Love is dedication. Love has to be tenacious for our people, a tenacious energy, a tenacious drive, tenacious activity, because we are swimming against the current here and climbing a steep mountain as we are working to continue solving the problems that we experience in our communities, that we're experiencing with our young people, that we're experiencing with our seniors, that we're experiencing in terms of food insecurity, education, fair housing, decent wages. So we really have a monumental task ahead of us and problems to solve, and we are not going to accomplish what we should if we do not have Black love. It is more than a hashtag. It is more than a slogan. It's more than rhetoric. It is work. It is work. It is not causing harm to our brothers and sisters. It's showing them that we love them by how we serve them, and even serving them when they don't understand that we're doing it for their good. This requires a great deal of endurance. So what are you thinking about in this 2025 Black History Month, aside from the chaos that's happening after the inauguration, aside from conversations about boycotts and DEIs? What are you thinking about this Black History Month? For me, it's Black love. You can email me at nora@noraspeaks.com. Let me know. Until next time, love your Black self. Love yourself. Love yourself and stay in peace.
We were brought here as a piece of property. And to keep that piece of property, it is to not allow the property to know the value of the property. What I mean by that, if you had known the history of yourself, you would not have been made a slave. And you won't be a slave now if you have a knowledge of yourself. It's hard to enslave a person that have equal knowledge with you. You just can't do it. And so this knowledge of yourself is the thing that will free you from what you have been suffering from.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, noramahammed.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@noraspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.